Welcome everyone back to the channel. I'm Steven.
I'm Brittany.
And we are the BS Review here with a book review. Today we are continuing our series with Pet Sematary, and we're going to give you guys a spoiler-free review. Our reading vlog is already up where we kind of read our way through this and give our spoiler thoughts as we read. But if you haven't read the book, I highly recommend you don't spoil yourself on our video unless you really want to. And that is why this is here. So we can talk about this with no spoilers and you can find out whether we think it's worth a read.
Don't forget to go down into the description if you're interested in having your very own copy of this, because we are giving away one of these copies. We always get 2 copies when we do reading vlogs, reviews, etc. And then we give away one to you. So go down below. All the details will be there. I don't know what they are yet, but they'll be there. So this is, of course, a book by Stephen King, so it had to be set in Maine. Our main character, Lewis Creed, is his last name Creed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Lewis Creed moves his family to a small, I believe it's like a college town in Maine, because he is a doctor and he's becoming the on-campus physician. And they move into this very farmhouse kind of big house, and they're on this street that's a tiny street, but it's down the street from a very large factory manufacturing thing. So lots of big semis and stuff go by, which is important. And they have a family across the street that kind of welcomes them into this town, and nefarious things happen that have to do with a pet cemetery.
There's a lot that happens in this book, and obviously we're not going to spoil anything for you guys, so we're not going to give away any plot details. But I felt like the hook of this book was pretty good. Once you arrive, I feel like you jump into the action of things pretty quick. I think the first 50 to 100 pages, stuff got pretty crazy pretty quick, and there's some supernatural elements that come into play that I found very interesting.
I would agree, and I think that our middle section of this book definitely got bogged down a little bit with too much wandering, which is very, very traditional of Stephen King books, especially his older works. But then Act 3 really picked up, and I think was the highlight of the book for me.
Yeah, I would definitely say in terms of plot, there are some pacing issues in just that the first chunk of the book, very exciting, very interesting. It seems like it kind of plateaus and kind of a slog. And really, all the action of the third act happens, in a very short period of time at the end. It feels like he spent so much time building up to that finale that it was a little rushed when it came to, whereas I would have preferred almost a more extended finale and less middle stuff.
Stephen King is very good at setting atmosphere in his books, and I think that this is no exception to that. He really draws you into this story and really draws you into this town that they're in. Stephen King is obsessed with towns and them having just a general creepy feel, and this continues to do that, but in a different way than a lot of his other books, because it's not necessarily, the town isn't as much of a character as I would argue some of his other books are, especially with with Derry, Maine. The town is very much its own character, and we've talked about that in our review for that book. But this one, the town was important, but it wasn't its own special entity. But I think the atmosphere was very good. I think the writing style was very classic Stephen King, minus our plot pacing issues. I really liked the writing style. I was very drawn into it.
I would also say that one of Stephen King's biggest strengths, and that is in this book as well, is how he writes characters. I think that he is very good at writing a flawed character. There are several times when we were talking about this book, and you can go to our reading vlog after you read the book and you can hear us talking about where I was I think one week I was I hate this character, he's a jerk, and then the next time I was oh, okay, I see where he's coming from, and I was no, he's a jerk. So I think it's really easy to root for these characters that still have these massive flaws, and that's not always true. I've read a lot of books where the author makes them a character unlikable, and it's very hard to continue supporting that character even though they expect you to.
Another aspect I really liked in this book, as well as several of other Stephen King's books, is the world building aspect, the way he sets up this supernatural vibe that's going on in here and what happens with it. I think the world building was very good, and it also leaves you with just enough questions for it to be really intriguing, and you wanting more, but also not feeling too much was left off the page to be satisfying. I found that the reveals and the world building aspects were satisfying while still being a little bit mysterious and unknown.
So I think overall we both quite enjoyed this novel. I think we both gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. So I I really enjoyed it. I think it was a well-written book. I would say it was not my favorite Stephen King novel.
I'd say it's higher up there for me, but it's definitely not in my like top picks.
And that, I think, is a lot due to the pacing. As well, Stephen King himself has said that this is his scariest book. And a lot of people had said that this book was really, like, spooky. And
I disagree.
after reading the novel, it actually wasn't as spooky as I wanted it to be. I kept expecting for the next page to be, like, the spooky thing that people keep talking about, and I never quite got there for me. So
I think the ending was sufficiently spooky, but because of the pacing issues, it was too cram-packed for you to get that drawn-out suspense feeling in that final act.
maybe so, but I found other Stephen King novels to be a little scarier. Like, I thought It is actually a scarier book. I think there's a lot spookier
scarier,
things. Yeah.
Honestly.
So I think there are probably some other ones if you're looking for scares in your books. I don't know if this is the scariest novel. Maybe it just depends on the kind of books you like to read. But that was just an expectation that was let down a little bit for me, and I think for both of us. But other than that, we really liked it.
We did want to briefly talk about the movie expectations because this entire series is centered around the book to movie adaptation aspect. Obviously, we're still going to keep it spoiler free, but I think that going from this, I think that the movie will be very better paced, I guess, because of just the way that movies plot out. I can foresee the third act being a little more drawn out and a little more suspenseful, just especially based on the trailers, the way they have been so far. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I think that the original one, most people say is really bad, but I think the new one could actually be really good.
I agree. I felt like this book was written in a very cinematic style. It was very easy to like create the imagery in your head of what things look like and how scenes are playing out. So I think it'll translate very easy to the screen, and they can cut out some of the filler in the middle. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this review. Like we said, don't forget about our giveaway. Check out the description below to find out how to enter. You guys can win the book. We'll send it to you, and that way you can read it before the films come out as well. Well, I guess the film will be out.
We'll announce the winner. Yeah, based on how our schedule is for this, we'll see.
But you can go see the movie and read the book afterwards. Either way, it's a brand new hardcover book in great condition, and it's a good one, so you'll enjoy reading it. Make sure you enter down below.
Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and want to see more book reviews from us. If you have any other book to movie adaptations that you are aware of coming up soon, leave them down below. If you want to see us do a series around them, we may already have several planned, but we'd still like to hear your input. Please subscribe if you like us and are looking forward to us continuing this series as well as many others, and we will see you guys in our next video. Bye!